Let me take you back to a magical time known as December 2019. I was a freshman in film school at the University of Colorado. As a young man on the precipice of manhood living in a pre-pandemic America, I had it all. Looks, swag, you name it. One day, I attended a meeting for students who were interested in taking a class that would spend a weekend at the Telluride Film Festival in the fall of the following semester. I signed up with about a dozen other students and we patiently waited for our chance to make film festival history. Or so we thought. So basically once March rolled around, we all got sent home and our film festival aspirations were put on hold. But that's okay because we all signed up to go again the next year. Fast forward to August 2021 and my life is in the shitter. And I know what you're thinking. This guy has so much swag. There's no way he could be clinically depressed. But you would be wrong. My roommates had gone home for the summer, so I was living alone in my Boulder apartment working part-time at a pizza restaurant and spending every last dollar to my name on rent. To make matters worse, I had recently received a rejection letter from the BFA program at my school, and on top of that, I was going through some intense personal issues that I won't get into right now, but just know that shit hurted. But all of that was okay because I knew that everything would start to turn around as soon as I got on the bus to head down to the Telluride Film Festival with all my friends. I was especially excited because the film festival weekend just happened to coincide with my 21st birthday. Prior to our departure, we each had to send a negative COVID test to our professor. No big deal, right? I hadn't gotten COVID even once up until that point, and there's no way that God would do me dirty like that on the eve of my 21st birthday, right? Wrong. So while all of my friends drove down to the festival together, I spent my 21st birthday quarantining in my room, drinking a 4-pack of lime margarita Cutwaters that my dad had bought for me and placed on the steps of my apartment building.
Gonna get fucking hammered tonight.
The following day, I was on a phone call with my parents in which I aired out all of my grievances with my current situation. It felt like I was stuck, and anytime I allowed myself to get my hopes up for something, my expectations were met with nothing but extreme disappointment. I came to the conclusion that I needed to take some time away from school in order to straighten out my priorities and maybe even find myself. Around this time, 3 of my friends were finalizing their plans to rent an apartment in the Bronx, New York City, and they invited me to take the 4th room. I gladly accepted the invitation and began making plans for my gap year. And this is where the story really begins. During the school year prior to my departure out to the city, a filmmaker by the name of Derek Cianfrance came to my school with a 35mm print of his film Blue Valentine, starring Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams. Having attended the university nearly 20 years prior before dropping out and making a name for himself in Hollywood, he came back to the school to present the film and converse with up-and-coming filmmakers such as myself. As an early adopter of the literally me mindset, I had obviously been a fan of Derek's for years and was very excited for the opportunity to meet a filmmaker whose work was very influential to me and the types of films that I wanted to make. Here's a picture that we took after the screening. And just like that, I finished up my junior year and headed off to the Bronx. I moved in with 3 friends, one of whom was completing his undergrad at Fordham University, and we were all collectively unemployed for about 3 months. I was eventually able to find some PA work on commercials, music videos, and other small productions. Here's a picture of Murr from Impractical Jokers. And then I ended up working at the local Applebee's for a little while before ending the year at a pasta restaurant in Chelsea. And just like that, my gap year was over. And then I went back home to complete my senior year of school. I had applied for the BFA program again, and this time I actually got in. My film, a 15-minute long Spinal Tap ripoff, somehow ended up taking home the award for Best Picture at our end of the year ceremony. And guess who was there? We got a chance to talk for a little while after the ceremony, and he was kind enough to give me his contact information, which I immediately took advantage of by sending him an email in which I begged him for a job on his upcoming feature film, ROOFMAN. Despite likely being knee-deep in pre-production at the time, he got back to me within 24 hours and invited me out to Charlotte to be a production assistant on the movie in the fall. And just like that, the pendulum of life began to swing back the other way. On October 12th, 2024, my roommate Davis and I packed into my 2005 Honda Pilot and started the drive from Boulder, Colorado to Charlotte, North Carolina. The drive there was truly breathtaking, and it was an opportunity for me to see some really beautiful parts of the country. We even had a chance to stop in Columbia, Missouri for some authentic Southern cuisine. It was us against the world, just guys being dudes. Until I dropped his ass off in Indianapolis so he could fly back to Colorado. And just like that, I was on my own. I arrived at my Airbnb in Charlotte, North Carolina on October 14th with big dreams and a very sore ass. I spent the first couple of days getting acquainted with the area and meeting some of my fellow roofers. I also learned that on top of Channing Tatum, the cast also included Kirsten Dunst, Lakeith Stanfield, Ben Mendelsohn, and Peter Dinklage. Also, this is Ross. He was the second AD on the movie, and he's also my best friend. And just like that, we began production. I was up at the crack of dawn every morning and was usually on set before the sun was up. My main responsibilities included getting breakfast for the cast and crew, getting coffee for the cast and crew, and stopping people from walking across the frame, mostly the cast and crew. So basically carrying the entire production on my shoulders. It was my first time on an actual film set, and I did my best to keep everyone around me from knowing just how excited I was to be there. I won't get too deep into it, but some of my favorite memories include chatting with Derek about the nuggets before we started each day, meeting the woman behind the scorpion jacket from Drive, getting my head shaved by the Emmy Award-winning hair and makeup team, getting told by Kirsten Dunst that I have good bone structure after I shaved my head, and having a brief yet very impactful conversation with Peter Dinklage. I also managed to get this picture with Channing right after we wrapped, which you might recognize as the first photo on my Christian Mingle profile. We shot the movie from October to December, after which we all went our separate ways. And just like that, my ROOFMAN experience was over. Or so I thought. As the film went into post-production, I spent the following months working at a couple different places around Boulder, but the whole time I was trying to find a way to move out to New York City again. And I had almost given up until about 3 months ago when my good friend Jackson reached out to me and said that he had a spot opening up in his apartment in Brooklyn. I arrived in Brooklyn on August 12th and promptly let Derek know that I was here. He got back to me with an email in which he welcomed me to the city and let me know that he had reserved a ticket for me for the New York City premiere of ROOFMAN. So, on September 8th, 2025, I got the opportunity to join Derek, Channing, Kirsten, and Peter at the premiere of the first feature film I had ever worked on. I also managed to snag a photo with Channing's bodyguard, who I had met in North Carolina. His name is Travis, and he's my best friend. Once again, I simply could not believe that I was allowed to be there in the same room as all of these amazing people. Hi, everybody. Sorry for the terrible lighting, but I just wanted to say really quick that I'm not making this video to be like, oh, look at me, look how dope I am, look at what cool thing I did, because in fact it's quite the opposite. If you couldn't tell by the tone of my voice, I don't really feel like I deserve any of these opportunities that have come my way over the last year. Because like, what did I do really? Make a short film? You know how many students make short films every year? Thousands. And the only reason that I can think of that any of this has been possible is God, and God showing me his timing, and how, when I feel like I'm in a very low place, and things aren't going my way, that, you never know what he's doing in those times and in those moments in your life. Because had things gone according to my plans, and I had gotten into the BFA program the first time, and I got to go to Telluride like I wanted to, I probably wouldn't have taken the gap year, and I wouldn't have met the people that I met the following year after that, and I would have never met Derek, and none of this would have ever happened. So, if you are in a similar situation right now where you feel like you just cannot catch a break and the world is against you, I guess my word of advice is just keep going, because you never know what is on the other side of that. And it's just an opportunity for God to show you how much he loves you. And that's what I got. So thank you for watching. Go and see ROOFMAN in theaters October 10th. That's today. I don't know if I'm going to post it today, I'm gonna try and post it today. We'll see. Okay. Go and see the movie. Love you.